Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley, and today I have a very special guest sitting with me. His name is Nick Ridgeway. He's the Director of Franchise Development at Pirtek USA. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rob. Glad to be on.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So I know I said this to you earlier, and I love starting the conversation with how you got to where you are and a little bit about your background, because you probably have an extensive one. Well, I know you do. But anyway, tell us a little bit of how you wound up with Pirtek and that journey.
Yeah, so I wasn't in franchising prior to working for Pirtek. I worked for a company, Scott's Miracle-Gro, which a lot of people know, and did district sales manager and sales management for them in a few different cities in the Midwest, St. Louis and Chicago. And then I came across the opportunity in 2016 to come work at Pirtek. Here at Pirtek USA, I've had three really different positions. Didn't start in Fran Dev either. I started as a field support, so a field consultant, supporting our franchisees on a local level, traveling the country, learning the business, learning franchising. And then in 2019, I was promoted to franchise development manager, and I've been doing franchise development ever since.
Oh, wow. So you got into franchising from, now Scott's, that is or isn't a franchisor?
That is not a franchise. Correct.
Yeah. But there are a lot of franchisors in that space, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that transition, because, I've been in franchising a while, and, franchising, what is that exactly? Well, it's an idea, right? It's a business model. It's a way to grow, but it's a collection of business, a lot of industries, 300 or 400 industries, thousands of brands. But like we always say, franchising, like it's an industry. It's not really an industry, but it is a community, if you will. Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. Like, what are your thoughts now that you've been in this world for a while? I've always loved it because it's a collection of entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs, and together you're a big, big concern. So I always like that. But tell me your thoughts of getting into this space.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It was tough in the beginning, right? Coming from the corporate world. I mean, obviously it's a little bit different structure. It's not like franchising. You're not working with independently owned and operated businesses. So the hierarchy is different. I mean, there's a lot of differences between working in the corporate world and franchising. So, but coming into it, I knew how to manage people and work with different people. I knew service companies, coming from a service company myself. So I knew how to get into that with the owners. But the first thing I had to learn was franchising and how to be able to help these owners go from one step to the next, or educate them on what to do next in their business to achieve a certain result. Yeah. And then also just learn our business. We have a unique business model. So not only franchising and learning that, but I had to learn our business so I could help and be effective in my role at the time. But franchising also is a lot different with once you start getting into franchise sales. I mean, you're working with people on showing them this is a good investment, working through FDDs, all the litigation and just FTC rules you got to follow from a franchise sales perspective. It's a lot different than selling fertilizer, right? So you've got to do a lot of studying and research and really dive into it. And so I really spent a lot of time early on in 2019 going to franchise conventions, working on obtaining my CFE. I mean, just really engulf into it, working with vendors and learning from them, learning from peers that I meet within the franchise industry from going to some of these conferences. And it really just helped me mold into where I'm at today, on how I've been able to continue to grow in the franchise development role that I'm in, and be a leader and a manager and just a positive influence on our brand and within our organization. So.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I love the concept, and I always have to deal with vendors, partners, and consultants, because I am one, and I help a lot of franchise brands with different things in related to marketing and technology. So I'm working with a lot of people a lot of the time, and it's very hard to convey what a franchisor is. And for the new emerging franchise brands, that is also a hard thing to teach, is to become a franchisor. And it's a unique idea that you're helping others start a business that you know a lot about. But helping someone start a business includes a lot of details, right? And that's the concept is you're not in business for yourself or you're not in business for by yourself, but for yourself, right? And that's why franchising tends to be extremely successful in terms of if you compare it to other types of ways to get into business for yourself. So that's the thing that's unique that I love. I love helping entrepreneurs or people that might come from a corporate background, invest in a business. There's so much excitement and it's such a different thing. So, but then helping someone like that, and you know this from the franchise development, you're on the front end helping them decide, is this a fit for them? And you're helping decide, is it a fit for our brand? And so then you're bringing them in and just that whole process is fun. So like you said earlier, it's like, I had to learn franchising, but then I had to learn the actual business too. So you had to do both. So let's jump into that. Tell us a little bit about Pirtek and maybe a little bit about what makes it a unique franchise business model.
Yeah, so it's the only franchise business model of its kind. So there isn't anybody out there doing hydraulic and industrial hose service like Pirtek is. So that's one thing that makes us unique. But we're an essential service, right? To use a COVID term. We're something that's essential to these local industries, construction, manufacturing, distribution, your cities and municipalities. This is something they need for their day-to-day operation to keep their business operating. So one of our value propositions is being part of the community, and we really believe in that. But our service really is part of that. I mean, we keep buses running, we keep construction moving, we keep the garbage from being picked up, and I mean, those are all things that are very important. Things that just in our day-to-day lives that you don't think about. I knew nothing about hydraulic hoses coming into this. I had no idea there were so many purposes for a hydraulic hose in the world today. I mean, it far outreaches just what's on a piece of yellow equipment on the side of the road, right? So, there's so many opportunities to be able to expand into that, and it's good to see our brand continue to grow that way as well. And what separates us apart is that we're a service company, so we don't just sell the hose. I mean, we're providing service on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We're providing it on Saturdays. We're providing it over the counter if they want to do the work themselves. So as a service company, we tried to figure out a way to service the customer. I mean, we know they have the need. It's just how are we going to be able to provide it to them, either on site or over the counter, and however you want to do it. So that's what makes it unique. And like I said,
very cool. So tell me, so with that said, it's unique. Well, it's very unique because it's the only one. So that's cool. And you're talking about something that's mission critical. And I love that because in the tech world, I lived in that world, like, servers or applications being up running all the time, split testing and redundancies. And because certain things can't break, or if they do, it's painful for certain situations or can be very costly. And it sounds like that's exactly what your business is about, is servicing a lot of different business models, a lot of different business types with mission critical. It runs like our dial tone. Like my dad's he was a guy, he's not with us anymore, but he was a guy from the old phone company days. And he really impressed upon me that it really doesn't matter if that tone if it's not available 1 minute out of any day, it's not good enough, right? Because when that person needs the phone, it could be that important. So it's like mission critical to have a dial tone, and a lot goes into that. You don't think about, right? But it's like you guys. So can you walk me through? Like, what does a customer look like? What would be a good customer? And what am I doing for him? Like, exactly, like they use the hose for this, and this is how it affects the world. And can you walk me through an example of something you deal with every day?
So, I mean, just like we're talking on this podcast today, right? You need internet for it to be able to function, for us to have this video ability here, and for you to be able to post this afterwards, right? For people that have hydraulic equipment, all the industries that operate with hydraulic or even industrial type hoses, they need that to be able to operate. Like, the equipment doesn't run without a proper functioning hydraulic hose. There's safety issues with that. You lose hydraulic power. So there's a lot of industries that run on it. The ones that people really see, let's just talk about some big ones. One is construction. So you have like your heavy equipment rental and construction companies. You see them all over in different shapes and sizes and types of construction, from residential construction to commercial construction to road construction to, it just goes on and on. Another one would be like waste and recycle companies. So throw garbage, all your cities and municipalities, you have like waste management, public services, and all those trucks are hydraulic driven. All the landfills have hydraulic equipment through it. All the compactors and the presses and the grinders and everything that's in those places run on hydraulic power, and it's all one feeds to the next. But then you think about manufacturing would be a really big one. Everything that you own today goes through a manufacturing process somewhere. So it's got to be either injection molding machines or presses or some sort of assembly line that it's coming off of, with forklifts getting it to the trucks and the semis transporting it. A lot of those things run on hydraulic power. And when you look at the cities around America today, right, or even Canada, they all have. That's consistent in every market you go to, right? So there's development, infrastructure growth, there's construction, there's manufacturing, there's distribution, and your waste and recycling. So there's those are just real top industries, right? You can continue to go all the way down to every boat has hoses on it, and there's all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, right, yeah, and a lot of it is mission critical. So I'm just thinking, you lock in customers, and they're your customers. It would be probably take some doing to lose a customer. I'm not saying there's not a lot of variables that go into that, but there's a lot of business models where it's a real challenge to keep customers. And there's some business models where once you have a customer, it might be harder to get a customer, but once you have them, you have them. And I would guess that this is.
One thing I would add to that too, Rob, is that we're a premium product and a premium service, and keeping customers is a responsibility from the phone call to the job that's when it's dispatched, to how we perform the service on site, the follow through and the invoicing, and then the follow up that goes beyond that. It's consistent, right? Everybody's got to do their part in order to get that customer to come back. People will pay premium prices. People will use service companies, and that's both on commercial services or at your home. But they want to make sure that the process is being done right. And that's one thing here at Pirtek we execute very well, is that our franchise owners do a great job of employing the right people, ensuring that the value propositions are upheld there on the local market and services delivered, and customers want to continue to come back. So it's really easy to lose them if you do a bad job, right? So you want to make sure that every time is an opportunity to show what you got, what you're worth, and what we can do to save their bacon, because it could save that company thousands. So
yeah. Well, I know. Like I said, early in my career, I did infrastructure for technology, servers, and that was critical stuff, data centers, and people will pay, but you do need to deliver. So tell me about the competition. I know you're unique as a brand, as a franchise opportunity, and you kind of hit on a few things that makes me think about some other brands I often talk to. Because what's out in the marketplace that's not a franchise sometimes doesn't compete as well, because they're not run with processes and systems and a franchise, or like we talked about earlier, a franchise brand above to help. So tell me, does that play into this too? Do you guys find yourselves being that company that is dependable, does execute, versus maybe some other businesses that are local that maybe it's a little, where, how does that stack up? Is everybody as good as you, and you just someone's, or how does it work? Are you guys more dependable than others? How do you compete?
Well, we have a lot of competition out there. Most of them are just on a local level, people that have opened up hose shops, and they're maybe a distributor for another hose brand, and maybe they do some mobile service on the side, right? So there is some great competition out there, people we compete against every single day, but there's a clear advantage of being a franchise system, and a lot of that you alluded to with the processes, with the network of franchise owners. We have 145 locations today, well over 100 owners, right? So you have people doing it in different markets in 2 countries, both in the US and Canada, that have figured out processes and how to streamline this to make us more effective. So I think the strength is in our ownership group. And then also we have a great quality product. We have a global reach as well, right? Where we operate in 24 countries. We kind of oversee the US and Canada here, but we're founded in Australia. We operate in the UK. And there's 24 countries in total that Pirtek operates. So that gives you some opportunity to be able to streamline the process, really build the value propositions, and focus on what's important. We're not trying to be a service company that goes out and does everything. We focus on hydraulic and industrial hose. So when our focus is when we're so focused on just one thing, we can do that one thing really well. So
Gotcha. Very cool. So if you're, what kind of candidate do you guys typically find? I bet you it's very diverse, but tell me a little bit, walk me through who you're looking for or what you look for in a candidate, and that a process of coming on board, and then maybe that first year where you're obviously there's a lot to do and you want to get that business up and running. Tell me a little bit about that process that first year, how you're supporting, how your team is supporting. I know, you've got a team and a lot of resource behind you. So maybe tell us a little bit about that. But yeah, start with a candidate. Like what's the best, how does a candidate know if they're a good candidate? That might be helpful. And then what does that first year look like once someone moves forward and you get going with them?
So that's a really good question. I think it's a question that comes up a lot from different vendors, suppliers we work with, and other franchisors we may have relationships with. And that's you hear it at the conferences too, right? What's the candidate? And I think you hit the nail on the head. Is we do a very diverse group. I have people that come from being CFOs. We have a lot of engineers. We have people that have come up through our network, more than 10, that started as technicians in the field and worked for their owners and grown to be owners themselves. And we even have owners that have come from Pirtek USA and wanted to buy in and be owners in their markets and cities that they lived in as well. So we've got a very wide range. There's, commodity traders, and there's Olympians. There's all kinds of stuff that's in the ownership group. So, but one thing that really stands out or a couple things is one is that they're wanting to work in the business. This is a service company. You have to be heavily involved. The culture you build within your organization is important. So either the owner has to want to run the business, right, on the day-to-day, or they have to employ somebody that has the same passions they do. And somebody that's going to drive it. And because like we were talking about, how do you deliver to the customer and how you continue to keep the customer? A lot of that is that independently owned and operated business on a local level, and that relationship they build with the customer. It's very easy to fire Pirtek. It's hard to fire Rob. Right. When Rob's doing a good job and Rob comes and visits him every week, and Rob comes and takes care of him and takes him to lunch, it's hard to quit Rob. All right. So we try to instill that from training and support. And that's why the owner working in the business in resilience, I think, would be a second thing. Right. And you can tell a lot about people as you're going through it. And all franchisors try to evaluate candidates and look at them different ways. Right. But resilience is a big one. Starting a business is not easy. It doesn't matter what business it is. It doesn't matter what franchise it is. It doesn't matter how quick they say to start up it doesn't matter, right? Starting a business is difficult, and it has struggles, and there's things that they don't even anticipate before they open. And it all just hits them at once, right? So if they have the resiliency to focus on the day-to-day tasks, this is what I need to do today. This is what I need to do today, and just keep focusing one day at a time. You'll see owners achieve success, and success varies by owner, right? What they view is, and that's all in their perception. But as long as if you have happy owners and successful owners, you're going to have a good brand, great validation, and things are going to move forward. So obviously, we're a very technical business by nature. So when most people are not out looking for a hydraulic and industrial hose franchise, right? I can tell you, it's not a commonly searched keyword. We talk about this with our agency a lot. We rank very well on hydraulic franchise, so we're good there. But what we need to focus on is getting into some of these common keywords and ways to get it. People a lot of times just come across us, and what attracts them is that it's a business to business type industry. It's service, right? And it's a product that's a necessity for business to operate. Our tagline is "We'll keep you operating," right? Yeah. So, so when they see those factors, and they can get over the hydraulic hose part and get over the fact that they are not supposed to be the ones making the hose, that they should employ for that, they can really see some value in the business and how the model could work. So we get a lot. We get over the last 5 years or so, we've really increased the number of leads, the awareness of our brand as we've continued to grow. We've always had great candidates and a foundation of great legacy owners, and a lot of our new ownership that's coming in is very, very good as well, and very diverse, very resilient, and driving the business forward. And we're seeing great results. But from being the fact that we're technical in nature, we do have to provide a lot of support, right? So they have 2 weeks of training here where we're teaching them the technical aspect. We're also teaching them all the software and business operating the franchise business. Then we do 2 weeks of support on site and helping them with the technical aspects and the technicians, making sure they're set up for for the first job, and that they can perform the first job well. And then we help them with sales. We have a portfolio of national accounts. So we have a team here that focuses on national accounts to make sure that they have at least that foundation of something to start with. It doesn't guarantee them anything, right? But what it gives them is a ticket in the game, something to be able to walk in and say, hey, we have a national account with you, right? I want to be able to service you and show you what we got. So it gives them something there. And then we provide them ongoing support on site, over the phone. I mean, we have webinars, we use Fran Connect, and we have like university videos on different tasks. I mean, we have 1-800 numbers that they can call 24 hours a day. And we tell our ownership that, or the owners, is that you operate 24/7, we operate 24/7. So if you need something, you contact us, we work through it. We'll make sure that whenever you're servicing a customer, it looks like you've been in business for a long time and that you have the resources and everything behind you to help be successful. But we try to make sure that they know and they feel and they operate as if they're independently owned and operated, because it is their business, right? And we want them to feel that way. We want them to have the ability to make decisions and do the things they need to move their business forward, right?
Yeah. Well, I love the B2B myself. That's a big part of my background, and other than franchising. And you said something earlier about they're buy and rob. Yeah. And I said, I'm thinking, I remember I was taught a long time ago, when someone's buying from you or you have a business relationship, they're going to work with you. There's three things. Like they either trust your company, trust what you're saying, or your service, your product, or trust you. Those three things.
Yep.
Now you provide the other two. So it really just leaves it up to them to focus on that relationship, right? Because they're not going to question your ability to deliver or your product, because you're doing it at a high level all the time. So that's where it leaves the relationship. So that's key, and that's if you like that sort of model, that's a cool model. So you can just focus there. I know there's other things too, but tell me a little bit about how is technology. And we didn't talk a lot about it. Let's talk about inside of operations first, and then if you could share anything about on the marketing side or sales side, when they're growing, if there's any tech there. You mentioned Google and things, but tell me more on the operations. Like running the thing. I know it's an industrial thing, business model, but I'm sure there's a lot of tech that has to make that work, monitoring systems and communication. But tell me about the tech. Tell me about how that works.
Yeah, so we have an ERP system that we use, and we try to keep it all funneled into one for a lot of the main pieces that they need. Obviously, we are a business that is kind of inventory heavy, so they've got to be able to manage that inventory, manage it effectively, right? I mean, inventory is essentially cash on the shelf until it's sold, so you don't want to sit on inventory that's never going to sell. So we provide them with an ERP system that they're able to use that helps them with that inventory management. As well as a CRM. We talk about sales. We're pretty, and this is a service company. We do a lot of Google. We do a lot of paid media and social ads and all of that to drive customers in. But really, we're a B2B business, which means belly to belly. Staying in front of the customers and staying with them. So even if they're not using you, staying in front of them. If they're using you, staying in front of them. I mean, and making sure you're continuing to build that relationship, that goes a long way. And as our owners come in, right, they're on this trajectory, and they're just growing. Every month, they're growing month over month. And how do you maintain staying in front of the customers and doing all the other responsibilities, right? So the ERP system will control their customer maintenance and their CRM, invoicing, when it comes to inventory management, all of that. We do recommend that they use GPS, since we have mobile vans on the road. You want GPS, so they've got some dispatching software and GPS that they use to make sure that they're keeping an eye on their vehicles, and they can ensure they're getting value propositions are upheld, because we operate with a 1-hour ETA. So they have some of that, but otherwise we're pretty ancient when it comes to that. Not a lot of tech.
Well, you just said a lot of tech. Hidden tech, right? Not the gadgets.
We don't have a mobile app. Right. Everybody wants the mobile app. We don't have a mobile app yet, so we haven't figured that out. But
haven't got that yet. All right. Well, maybe soon. Well, so this is enlightening, because I don't know a lot about the business. B2B. I could see where you could build probably a really significant income, right? Just the nature of it. It's businesses that are operating at a high level. Some of them probably larger. This is mission critical. They pay for a premium service. So obviously, as you bring in new accounts, that can just keep building. And I'm sure at some point you scale, you teach them how to deal with growth and scale, which again is a huge hidden benefit that with franchising that comes later, right? Like after, that's the good problem to have after you've done it for a little while. Now you're like, oh my God, I'm growing. How do I do this? How do I hire people or more? But basically, I guess where I was going with that is, what does it take to get into the opportunity? Like, in terms of the financials, just a range, like what are we talking about? And then what is the potential? Again, in a range, I know you can't make specific, be too specific, but what are we saying would it take to get into it? And what could it be for someone down the road in terms of its financial potential? And maybe just add a little color to, is there multi-unit? What are the different ways that people scale?
Yeah. So to give you an option or give you kind of some perspective on the initial investment. So, we have one model. You have a brick and mortar building. So that's for customers to come and buy their hose assemblies. You got to remember, hydraulic hoses are custom, to the machine. They can't just buy a hydraulic hose on Amazon. So it has to be done locally. They have to take it off. It has to be measured. The fittings got to match. Everything's got to be same, and you can't do that online. So you have to have a brick and mortar building to store your inventory and to have the counter service. And then you have mobile vans on the road. So we offer two ways to be able to get into that. So tier 1, you start with the full model. Tier 2, you start with the mobile vans and you grow into the full model over a 3-year period. And that's available in specific markets, not available everywhere. Depends on the market. But so the initial investment for overall is, we say, $750,000. That's for working capital. That's for initial investment to get the store open is about $400,000 to $500,000, and then having working capital on hand. Obviously, we're doing service companies, so you'll have to deal with net terms with a lot of customers, right? So you want to be able to weather that storm when you first open up. So that's why we want more working capital when you come into the business. And then tier 2, you're able to come in without the building up front, so it's a little bit less capital expense up front. So you're under the $400,000, maybe around $200,000, $250,000. And you're able to come in and be able to scale it from there and develop into your brick and mortar over a 3-year period. So we try to give two options for people. And if they were to inquire, we would tell them what's available in what market, if they had specific areas they were looking at. Currently today, obviously we have 145 locations. So in most of those, almost 100 of those have come in the last 7 years. So we've had a lot of expansion here over the last 7 years or so.
Yeah.
And our average unit volume right now is around 1.1 million. So there's definitely some scale to it. And we've seen that increase over the last couple of years. We've had great success during COVID, where we were only down 3% over prior year in COVID. So people still needed hydraulic hose, but we talked about our owners and their resiliency, and the good foundation of legacy owners we have is that really showed during COVID when they were servicing the customers and making hoses on the side of the road. And that's a benefit of doing mobile, right? Is that you can still keep going. And but it doesn't matter what it is, if it's COVID or if it's a recession, or we find a way to be able to make it through. And the hoses are still needed. That's the benefit of our model, is that we are recession resistant. We're COVID resistant. We're an essential service, right? People need what we're selling. And you said, what about when you're talking about multi-unit? We have a good chunk, about a little over a third of our owners are multi-unit owners. We have an owner that owns 9 locations. And then we have obviously people that own 2 and 3 and 4. So there's some scale to it. Depends on what market you're going into. Obviously you want them to be adjacent and close together, right? So you can kind of build out. You don't want to do one on East Coast, West Coast. That's a little tough. But I mean, there's definitely some scale, and we're seeing more and more people get into multi-unit, as the brand is very strong right now. It's very recognized from an international perspective, from a national perspective. So we get a lot of interest in the brand, but we've had a lot of our owners expand here over the last couple of years. And a lot of that is they're seeing the success of the brand and where we're going, and they want to be a part of it, and they want to capture it, right? Because their businesses are growing, and they need more to be able to support what they start, and then they need more to be able to support the markets. So
yeah, no doubt. Well, all right, so you just said something at the last minute there that I wanted to ask you about, which is the driver of the growth of the market, right? What is behind? Like, what would the next 10 years look like? And, and I'm sure since you service probably, I mean, I don't know, such a broad array of the economy, I would assume it's an interesting answer, but what really drives the growth and how do you see that unfolding over the next, call it 10 years?
Well, the need's always there. It doesn't matter if there's a recession or not, or where the economy is at. The need for hydraulic hoses are there. In a good economy, they buy new equipment and people are fixing the old. And then in a down economy, they're not buying new equipment and they're fixing the old, right? So the need is still there. It's like tires on a car, right? People still drive their cars and need tires. Doesn't matter what the economy is. They just might run them a little bit longer and they blow more, but the concept is the same. So the need is always there. So go back to repeat your question again. I got lost.
Yeah, so is there certain industries like that are poised to grow that kind of are linked to you that would cause, I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, oh, this thing is booming. And so they're going to need hydraulic hoses. And, the thought, like, if you think of the self-driving car market or the electric car market, what does that mean for battery providers, right? Certainly there's potential that could explode for them because of another market. But is there anything like that in your space that you see happening that's, oh my goodness, that's really growing and that's going to affect us? Or is it just really broad across all those essential businesses that, I mean, construction, I guess you could say, well, if construction is booming, then maybe that would drive things. But that's kind of what I'm saying is there other related trends that you see that would affect, general growth in general?
Yeah, so we obviously, you alluded to it, we have a pretty broad customer range. I think the most common industry we work with is construction, and that can be cyclical, right? I mean, it can have ebbs and flows to that. If you're in the north, right, it could be gangbusters from April to November, and then it slows down for a little bit. But that's why we really focus on our franchisees building a diverse customer base, not going heavily weighted on just national accounts or heavily weighted on just on construction or recycling or something along those lines. We want them to have a wide range of customers so they can weather the storm or whatever that is. So if there is, let's say it's a market specific concern and there's a slowdown in construction, you want to be able to lean on your manufacturing and recycling, and which is still operating 100%. But if you don't try to build that diverse customer base, then you'll see some cyclical results. And I think that's in any industry, not really unique to ours. We have seen the heavy equipment industry and kind of try to come out with electric equipment. But the problem is it still needs hydraulic power, or it's not really a problem. It's a benefit for us, but a downside for whoever's trying to build the electric equipment. But it still needs the hydraulic power. So you still need the oil, you still need the hose. It still needs to be, there's just nothing that replaces today hydraulic power. And the good thing, like we talked about earlier, is that our business can't be done online. So it's the local relationship and the old parts counter, right? Or the old parts guy that comes out to your, I mean, we're not that. We're very clean. We're organized. We're very premium service, but you just can't replace that, right? It's getting it quick, getting it now, and getting you back up and running. That's what customers.
That's what matters. Yeah. Yep. And I thanks for answering that, because I actually wasn't thinking how it affects your equipment, but that's good to know, right? Your equipment is sort of what it is, and it's not really going to change. And you'll evolve anyway. I'm more than sure that you guys can handle that. But yeah, just knowing that. But it was also, I think it's unique that you can have diverse industries in your business model. Yeah. I think that makes it a no-brainer. Really, you just have to kind of do business across the different models, and you're fine. And some will be booming and some won't, and it just depends on where we are. But that's good that you could do that. You could diversify. So just in terms of and before we wrap things up, is there anything that you could share with the audience, just in your experience? And I also wanted to touch on your growth. You mentioned that you added about 100 owners or locations in the last 7 years. So I wanted you to talk to me about where you see that growth going. What are some of the goals? But I also know you've got some anniversaries and some other leverage behind you. So I know you're kind of poised for a little bit of growth here. But tell me a little bit more about all that and where you see things going in the coming years.
Yeah, so Pirtek, today this year, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary here in the U.S. So we're excited about that. Our ownership group and here at Pirtek USA, we're celebrating that. We've evolved a lot over 25 years, but I think the next 25 years are going to run at a little bit faster pace. Really, since 2014 to today, we've grown from 47 locations to now today we're at 145. So we're approaching 150. In 2020, we celebrated our 100th location, right? And we thought that was one of our original goals, is let's get to 100 by 2020, right? So okay, we achieved it. Now it's to the next thing. So our next thing is to get to 300 locations. So we're well on our way, but we want to do that here within the next 5 years. Wow. So we want to grow pretty quickly. We have some new strategic investors, like we were talking about earlier today with Princeton Equity Group. So we're excited about the knowledge and franchising that they bring with all the franchise experience that they have. And we've gotten to this level. We're at 145 locations. We just did our expansion to Canada. So we launched our first couple locations in Canada here in 2023. So we've had some great growth, right? But how do we get to that 300? How do we get to 400? How do we steadily grow effectively in those two countries? And I think Princeton Equity Group helps add that level of knowledge and intellectual capital, right, that we need to get us to the next phase, right? So we're excited about that. So
I like that trickle down. Like I said, being a franchisee it's a great feeling to be a local business owner and an entrepreneur, but it's also a great feeling to have so much great resource behind you. And sounds like you're adding to that. And again, it helps everybody. Momentum is everywhere. It's you guys succeed. It helps the local operators. There's more scale. There's more momentum. There's more visibility. It's just natural. Everybody's starting to do a little better. As you said, some of your franchisees are just naturally growing. And so the whole network is just growing. Every location over time will keep doing that. Now you take the strategy you have now to add units and locations, and there you go. But that helps every individual in the network, and that's good stuff. Is there? I just wanted to kind of leave the audience with this. Is there? I know you said you came to the industry from outside of the industry, and I might just mention that the growth seems to coincide close to when you joined. So I'm just saying you might have helped a little. You might have helped a little with that growth, having a guy like you. But is there like a tip or any advice you might give someone that's looking in to starting a business and potentially is attracted to Pirtek?
But I would talk about the growth a little bit. That a lot of that is all about our team. We've more than doubled our team here at Pirtek USA. We've franchise owners and the work that they're doing, the employees of the franchise locations and the work they're doing. I think it goes beyond just what I've done or my team's done or employees of Pirtek USA have done. I think it's a collective effort to get to where we're at. And everybody's doing their part, right? And that's what in order to have a good organization, become a great organization and take it to the levels that you want to take it to, everybody's got to do their role, and do it and execute well. And I think that our team members have done that either on the franchise owner side or on our side. So it's not all because of me. So
well done, Nick.
Right. So, you like how I hear you, man. So, but, we even wear these bracelets that say partnering for franchise success. So, and this is all of our employees here at Pirtek USA wear these. Cool. So we're very proud to support our franchise owners and providing the resource that they need to run their independently owned and operated businesses. But we're a franchisor and we're trying to grow, right? So, so we've got to put the pieces in place to accelerate and do it the right way and do it responsibly, right? You don't want to grow and have a bunch of closures or bring negative publicity to your brand. So we're definitely focusing on doing it the right way. But when it comes to when it comes to our brand, we're on the right trajectory. We've got the right people in place, and like I said, we're moving in the right direction. I forgot the second of your question there.
Oh no, I'm glad you added that. We have conversations a lot about growth, and one of the things that comes up a lot is just being responsible, right? Yep. And because the key is just success at each location, and then the part about, the sales and marketing department versus the service delivery and operations teams, it's like you got each other's back. You got to have each other's back. It is a team effort. You can tee it up, but it's gotta happen on the back end for that to keep happening. So I got you on that too. But I just wanted to comment. I know they brought you in to take sales seriously, and it seems it's working well.
I do remember the second part of your question, Rob. I do remember.
You do? All right. Yeah. So what is the tip? What do you think? Is there a tip or some advice? Because, you're dealing with them every day when you talk to folks, but if they're wondering about starting a franchise business, and obviously yours is unique, what kind of advice would you have?
Well, I would say if you're a potential franchisee looking to become a franchisee of any brand, I think you've got to do your proper due diligence. Make sure you're reviewing the FDD, look at the different aspects of the business. But the biggest key is validation. Don't just go off the FDD and just don't go off what the franchisor is saying. A lot of what you want to know about the brand is in the validation. We're fortunate to have great validation, but that just doesn't happen by accident. That's a culture you build within the franchisor, and also that shows you that franchisees are having success. Right? They're going to scream from the mountaintops when they're having success, and they're going to scream from 2 mountaintops if they're not. So which rightfully so, right? So we want to make sure that, as if somebody's looking into a franchise system, do your due diligence and get to the validation. That'll really tell you a lot about the brand. But you also, if you've gotten to the point to where, I guess the second caveat to that is if you're a potential franchisee looking at a franchise brand, you've already done the hard work. They've already looked for a long time before they made the call, right? So if you've made the call, see it through to the end, and don't be afraid to take that leap, because there's a lot of franchise brands and there's a lot of success stories out there. If the cards are in line and you're comfortable from a financial perspective to make that leap, just take it. There could be some positive outcomes.
It's tremendous. No, I mean, that part about validation too is interesting. I mean, I love the fact that you have that. I mean, most of the time, if you're going to buy a business, if it's not a franchise business, and let's say it is a business that's operating as revenues and things, you only have the business owner and maybe there's a intermediary of some kind. But with franchising, you really can speak, if you want to the whole network, I think, right? I mean, you could pretty much, if you wanted to take the time to call everyone. But I mean, that's an open book. It's so much transparency. I don't know if everybody understands that's how franchising works. And it really is about making sure it's the right fit. There's a process of recruitment and you're awarded a franchise. So it's a little bit of a hybrid of you're making an investment, but you're also being selected because everybody wants it to be a win-win. And part of it, you have to be real about that. So you guys have obviously been focused on that, or else you wouldn't be growing continually, because that becomes apparent. As you said, the double mountaintop starts to happen more often. So where they're a little bit more of that than the other, and you don't want that to happen. So, well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, thanks again for tuning in, and bye for now.